Hey folks, this is Astis from Astis Guides. I hope you've been having a blast with patch 9 like I have. I slept 2 hours last night because I've just been frantically playtesting the Paladin class and all 3 subclasses to get out a Paladin class review. Unless something goes terribly wrong, I should have it out by tomorrow. However, while I've been playtesting the Paladin, there have been ideas. Just everything has changed with this patch, and so many build ideas have been jumping out to me, and there are 2 in particular that I am extremely excited about, but I do not think I will have time before Christmas and New Year's to actually playtest them, and I wanted to get them out there as quickly as I can, because honestly, I want someone to playtest them and tell me about it, about how they perform, and yeah, so either way, it could just be fun theory crafting. Let's talk about it. The first one really has to do with the Mephistopheles Tiefling, because I suspect that the Mephistopheles Tiefling is going to be catapulted from one of the worst races in the game to now S tier, one of the best and definitely one of the ones I'm most excited about. And it all has to do with what they get now at level 5. So here's a Mephistopheles Tiefling Paladin I have been playing, level up to level 5, and you can see they get Flameblade. The Druid 2nd level spell Flameblade as a innate racial ability that they can cast, I believe, yes, once per long rest. Now, longtime followers of my channel know the hilarious things you can do with the Flameblade spell in this game in combination with the Circlet of Fire. But in the past, it was restricted to druids who get Flameblade innately, or wizards who could learn it from a scroll, which now wizards can't learn it from a scroll.
Is that blood? No.
But now, any class can get access to at least 1 Flameblade cast per long rest just by picking Mephistopheles Tiefling. So just as a quick review, here's what makes the spell so good. Flameblade is a flaming scimitar, which means it's a light weapon, and you can wield it in your offhand. So if you see here, put a dagger in my main hand, now I have Flameblade in my offhand. And when Flameblade is wielded in the offhand, you attack with it on a bonus action. Still does all of the same damage that it would deal if it was in your main hand, but now you can attack with it on a bonus action. And then you can combine that with the Circle of Fire.
All's well that ends not as bad as it could have.
The Circlet of Fire will give you, whenever you deal fire damage with a non-cantrip spell, that means 1st level or higher, you gain another bonus action. And Flameblade counts. It is a 2nd level spell that deals fire damage on your offhand attack. So it'll give you another bonus action, which you can use to make another offhand attack with that Flameblade. And so the combination of 2 attacks with the Flameblade really skyrocket your DPR. It's already one of the better DPR strategies in the game. But now it's unlocked, you can run it on every class. And there's a ton of classes I want to playtest this on, and I just don't have the time to do it, because you'd have to play all of them up to level 5, and it's the holidays. So let me just mention a few of them to you now. The most obvious one has to be the Thief Rogue. You go Mephistopheles Tiefling, Thief Rogue, and you will have an extra offhand attack just by being a thief, and then you'll get another offhand attack if at least one of those 2 attacks hits, which is very likely. And so every round you should be making 3 offhand attacks with the Flameblade, dealing 3d6 damage per hit. So that would be 9d6 fire damage a round if you're hitting all 3. And you should be hitting all 3 reliably, because another thing about Flameblade, it uses your charisma modifier when you cast it with Mephistopheles Tieflings. You can get an 18 charisma on Mephistopheles Tieflings without any feat investment. You don't need an ASI because they can get a 17 right off the bat with their +2, and then you use Volo's Airsats I will bump that up to a 18 at the cost of a -1 tier intelligence, but who cares? We don't need intelligence for any of this. So you'll have an 18 charisma, and then also, of course, there's the staff I've talked about many times, the Staff of Arcane Blessing, which gives double the accuracy bonus of the Bless spell to spell attacks, and Flameblade is a spell attack. So you're getting a 2die4 bonus to your attack roll, and you're attacking at a +4 with your charisma. You should be hitting reliably with it. So I haven't crunched the numbers, but this should be a rogue Mephistopheles Tiefling with a Flameblade. Should be the highest DPR build in the game, and it shouldn't be close. The damage per round is off the charts. The only weakness is you have to maintain concentration to keep Flameblade up. But there's all sorts of ways that you can keep that concentration going, like the Bless spell, which you'll already have on you from the Staff of Arcane Blessing, and just investing in Constitution. So, yeah, that is the combination of Flameblade with the Thief. The other two classes I'm wondering about is, okay, this one's kind of niche, but Battlemaster Fighters, for two reasons. One, I want to know how Flameblade in the offhand interacts with the two-weapon fighting style. Now, it shouldn't do anything. It shouldn't allow you to add, like, your strength modifier or your charisma modifier to the damage. If you're just going by the rules as written in tabletop PHB. But this isn't tabletop PHB, this is Baldur's Gate 3. There could be like a coding error there, and if by chance you are adding either your charisma or your strength or your dex modifier to the damage of Flameblade, again, that's going to be insane. So I really want to test Flameblade offhand with the two-weapon fighting style, and then also in Baldur's Gate 3, when you riposte attack, you attack with both weapons if you're dual wielding. So, of course, a Battlemaster fighter with riposte can get an extra attack with Flameblade per round on rounds where they're getting a riposte attack, which isn't every round, but it's still often, especially if you know how to manipulate the AI into attacking your fighter. The only weakness to the Battlemaster with Flameblade that I can think of is to proc those riposte attacks, you have to be drawing aggro. And when you're drawing aggro, you risk losing your concentration and dropping the Flameblade spell. But fighters do get proficiency in Constitution saving throws. So maybe that will offset it. I don't know. You have to play test to see if it's good. And like I said, I just don't have time. I wish I did, but I don't have time to do it. And then the third and final class I want to play test with the Flameblade spell is Sorcerers. In particular, I want to know if Sorcerer metamagics can modify racial spells. I think I play tested in the past, and I seem to remember that they do modify racial spells. You can do that, but I mean, I don't know. It was a long time ago. When was that? Patch 6? It was a long time ago that I tested that. So if they do modify it, I want to see what the interaction is between Flameblade and the empowered... Yes, the empowered spell. Is that in Baldur's Gate 3? Sorry guys, 2 hours of sleep. Anyways, let's just... If empowered is in Baldur's Gate 3, I can't remember if it is or not. I want to see if empowered will modify the damage of Flameblade, and if it isn't, maybe someone can test any of the meta magics and see how if they would modify Flameblade. So that one is more of a shot in the dark. I don't expect the Sorcerer to really pay off. The Rogue should be a sure thing. Again, just crunching very basic math in my head, the numbers are so high with 3 attacks with Flameblade in a round, plus a sneak attack, that the damage is off the charts. It's probably Definitely the best striker build in patch 9. I can't imagine a better striker build than this being possible. It might just be the best build in the game, overtaking the build that we lost, which of course was the Armor of Agathis stacking with the Abjuration Arcane Ward Wizard. That's lost now. So I hope you play tested it in the past, because it's not going to be in the game anymore. So the second build that I'm excited about, but I won't have time to test, actually has to do with a particular item, and that is Nature's Snare. Nature's Snare is a quarterstaff that's been so close to being meta for so many patches. It's really quite interesting. Most people overlook it. It's a unique quarterstaff. It doesn't have any enchantments in the sense that, like, it's not a +1 quarterstaff or anything. What it has is this ability, Fly Trap. Fly Trap says it has a chance to ensnare a target if it's not a plant or a beast. Now, what it doesn't tell you is it has a chance to ensnare a target per attack. Most of these abilities proc on hits, but for some reason Nature's Snare is not like that, and I have tested it this patch. It's still the same. Fly Trap will proc on attacks that you miss, and it ensnares the target, so it restrains them until they make, I believe it's a strength saving throw to resist it against a DC that's set by your spellcasting attribute, or intelligence if you are a martial class. The ensnaring effect also deals damage, just like ensnaring strike would, the ranger ability ensnaring strike. So I believe it's 1d6 damage, it might be 1d4, it's not a lot, but it will proc instantly. You'll proc some damage on the round where you attack, and then it will proc at the beginning of their next turn. Even if they make their first saving throw, you get at least 2 guaranteed procs. So that's maybe 2d6 damage or 2d4 damage, and remember, that will proc on a miss. You don't have to hit with that attack. Hitting is just extra damage. And then of course, if they fail their saving throw, then you're going to get another proc of damage out of it, and another every round that they fail that saving throw. Not to mention, it's the restrain condition, which is a decent condition. You have advantage on all attacks against a restrained creature, and they have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. And in the past, there weren't a lot of really good damage spells that targeted dexterity. I think it was just Burning Hands. But now, of course, we have Fireball. So that's one big change to make Nature's Snare viable, is that attacking the dexterity save, there are now viable ways of doing a lot of damage that attack the dexterity save. But the big change that I'm hoping makes Nature's Snare interesting is the extra attacks that you can get on martial classes now. So we can now spread that restrained condition to more targets per round than just one. And then now also, quarterstaves are versatile. So I have in mind a particular build around maximizing this Nature's Snare staff, and it has to do with the Bounty Hunter Ranger. It doesn't super matter which subclass of Ranger you pick, although I imagine that a Horde Breaker Hunter would be really interesting, because again, they attack multiple targets, so you'll be able to spread the ensnare condition to more targets. And then also, just a Beastmaster would be really good, because this build would be more support oriented, just spreading that ensnared condition. So having an extra unit on your team who is making attacks, capitalizing on that condition, and that isn't tied to your own attributes and leveling, could be really interesting. But the important thing is that you pick the Bounty Hunter background of Ranger, because the Bounty Hunter gets imposes disadvantage on enemies that make saving throws to overcome the ensnared condition when it's caused by the bounty hunter. And I didn't test it, but I have been told by people that the nature snare counts with the bounty hunter's disadvantage. So you'll be ensnaring targets, and they're going to have now disadvantage to overcome that ensnare, which means you get more and more procs, and then you can just walk around and spread this to as many people as possible, and it's kind of like a poison. It's going to be dealing a little bit of damage every round, but on a lot of targets that damage adds up. Another key part of this build would actually be at level 4 to take the feat that gives you druid spells, because you can take the Shillelagh cantrip, which is going to boost the base damage of your quarterstaff to 1d8, even though you're wielding it in one hand. So there's really no disadvantages at that point to wielding it in one hand, and then you will get to use your wisdom to make the attack. And so with this build, I'm actually thinking you can invest in wisdom for it, which will help both the ranger's spells, and it will help maintaining this ensnared condition on target. So what you get is a kind of frontline ranger support tank ranger build, where he's CCing up enemies, stopping them from moving, imposing this crippling condition to boost the attacks of his allies, and doing potentially quite a bit of damage by stacking up snares on multiple targets that they're not going to be able to break out of because they have, you know, disadvantage on that saving throw. So it's really a niche build, but I think it could be really cool. It might actually be good. What's going to actually make or break this build is the rate at which you ensnare targets. And I haven't been able to figure out the exact percentage rate that targets get ensnared. In my very cursory testing, I came up with 20% of attacks. That means misses or hits, doesn't matter. 20% you ensnare them. But again, other people who've playtested me have gotten numbers much higher than that. So I don't know how reliable their numbers are. I just did 20 or 30 swings against an ally in camp back in patch 5 or something. So some people have said as high as half of your attacks will proc that ensnare. That just doesn't seem right to me, but I did test it a little bit in one of my paladin runs this patch, and I was proccing it fairly often. I wasn't really keeping track of how many attacks it was, but it seemed like a lot. So that's going to be what makes or breaks this. So with any of these builds I've mentioned, any of the Flameblade builds or this Nature Snare build, if you have time over the holidays to test the build, please post your experiences with it in the comments, or you can email me. My business email you can find it on the About page of this YouTube channel. I want to know how these work, because if any of these actually function well and perform at a decent level, I'd be very interested in doing a full write-up of these builds, exploring them myself, and doing a full write-up for my website, and maybe make a video about it, similar to the Minsk build video I just released a few days ago. So please, if any of these interest you, test them, let me know in the comments, or email me what your experiences were. All of that is really useful information to me. So anyways, I hope this was fun. I know I've been a little bit scatterbrained because I'm running off a low sleep, but it'll be worth it for you guys, I hope, whenever I get the Paladin review video out. So again, have fun playing patch 9. Let me know what you think of these builds if you try them. I'll catch you next time.